talk about this and a whole lot more now with the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. Mr. Rewane, good morning. I know there's been protests, we've been seeing it and all of that, but I don't know, somewhere in my mind, I did not expect the courts to get involved. You know, but what are the implications of this order 7 days from yesterday? What happens if nothing is done, if it's still the same situation? What are the opportunities available to Nigerians through this?
First of all, this is one of the side effects of a democratic setting. Everybody has rights and everybody has fundamental human rights as well. So I think somebody had gone to court to ask for an interpretation of the Act, the Price Control Act, and tried to superimpose that on the price of petroleum products. But like one of the other speakers said earlier on, the fact is that there is a PIA, which is a Petroleum Industry Act, which states clearly that the price of petroleum products are deregulated. Therefore, in law, I'm not a lawyer, the later laws take precedence over the earlier laws. And it's only when there's a conflict between the laws and the Constitution that the Constitution takes precedence. But let's look at it from a macroeconomic perspective. The reality is that if you fix prices, then the laws of demand and supply break down. And if you are having an open market system in terms of reform and all of that, and you want investors to come into this country, you cannot fix prices. Therefore, it's totally inconsistent and incompatible with macroeconomic principles in modern day economics, and also it is inconsistent also with the investment-led strategy which this country has embarked upon over the last few years.
So now that we see this, maybe it's a lawyer that should answer this, what could happen, but we can talk about the spread of the protest. And this is the fear, because 2020 is not so far away. And once we see protests spreading, then we know the chaos that could come out of it. And then we say, oh, the protest has gotten out of hand and all of that. But the truth is people are hungry and people just want to be heard and they want to see. I know that the guests on the Sunrise program, Sunrise Daily program, had said perhaps it is the issue of communication. Now, Mr. Rewane, you are close to, the corridors of power. Is there something that we do not know which the government is doing, to deal with this situation of high cost of living?
First of all, I'm not close to any corridor of power, but the truth is that the cost of living crisis is a carryover and a spillover from high inflation. High inflation is a spillover of low productivity. Low productivity is also a consequence of low investment. So we are looking at a picture, a macroeconomic picture, which shows some amount of failure and stress in the system. How do we solve it? We don't solve it with riots. We don't solve it with protests. All you need to do is to understand it and come clean to the people that this is the situation, and these are the programs that we have in place, and then let the programs be real and credible. Right now, the reason why you're having this riot is that people feel hopeless, and it's fueled on by other factors, but people feel a bit hopeless, and they need to be reassured that one, things are happening; two, that they will see results very soon, and also three, is that the people who are preaching reform cannot be seen to be living ostentatiously, right, in lavish lifestyles, while the people are suffering.
I guess that would be a bigger communication to Nigerians. If we see the squeeze affecting the elites in the country, then Nigerians could say, well, we are all affected and we are waiting for the result. But let's move a little bit away from not too far, because we're talking about the value of the naira, which is an offshoot of inflation. And we learned that the CBN met with BDCs yesterday, still talking about the FX rate and all of that. Could you tell us what you know about this, sir?
Well, I understand that there were meetings, and basically there are two elements here. Mr. Cardozo's administration has embarked on what we call the feedback rule. He consults with participants and stakeholders. He he internalizes what he has heard, and he comes back with guidelines which are not disruptive. So I think that in trying to understand the market structure, from the banks to the oil companies to the BDCs, he is consulting widely so that they can come up with guidelines that will allow the market to become more efficient, and that the price discovery mechanism, which is trying to embark upon, can be much more efficient. So I think that's what it is. Has it resulted in anything yet? No. The consultation is the first step. The guidelines that will follow will be the next step. And then the market will react if they believe it, and the markets will react either positively if they believe it, or negatively if they do not believe it. So Nigeria has its work cut out for itself. And as we speak, the market, the Naira traded at about 1,518 Naira in the parallel market. The official market is still about 1,480 or something like that. So the convergence, the difference between the parallel market and the official market is almost like 1%, 2%, which is fair enough. Now, what will make the official market and the parallel market appreciate happen? A couple of things. One, we just announced that the Akpo field is going to be producing an extra maybe 20,000 barrels of oil a day. That kind of information feeds into the system. The higher the oil production, the higher the oil revenue. The higher the oil revenue, the stronger the Naira becomes. Two, remove all these restrictions. There are too many restrictions. Dismantle many of them so that monies can come in. I think we've seen something with the IMTOs and all. So if those monies start to come in, and people are now clear that there's consistency between the policies, the guidelines, and the market expectation, you will see that the market, Naira was begin to appreciate. But one important thing that happened yesterday was that the treasury bill rate went as high as 19% for, say, 65 days and 17% for 90 days. That significant increase in the interest rates closer to the level of inflation will tell you immediately that the Naira should appreciate, technically and theoretically, the Naira should appreciate today. The casualty of this process is that the higher interest rates is going to knock the stock market. I can assure you, the stock market is going to be plenty of red ink today, because people are going to take their money from equities and put it in government treasury bills and the money markets. Yeah,
well, because investors will always look for where the higher income or higher profits will come from. But I mean, still talking about the Naira, with all of the steps that the central bank has taken and conversations, consultations, as you've noted right there, it will still take a while before this drives down to the commodities market.
No, not really. You see, what has happened is that global commodity prices are dropping, while domestic commodity prices are increasing because of the exchange rate pass-through. Now that you've taken some steps on the interest rates, the next step is mopping up liquidity. After you mop up liquidity, immediately after, the transmission lag is not as long as you think. In a few days, the people realize, because you are every day replenishing your inventory. So if you have to replenish your inventory at a lower price than it was, you begin to reflect that in the price. If not, you'll be stuck with old inventory and expensive stock, and you won't be able to sell that, and that will put you in a uncompetitive position relative to your rivals in that market. So what are we seeing? We've seen domestic commodity prices. Noodles are up 35% in the last 3 months. We've seen wheat, flour up significantly higher. Some of it are up. And diesel is the main thing. We saw diesel go up, maybe because of the shortage, maybe because of something else, but we saw it go up to 1,350 Naira yesterday at the retail level for diesel. And there's a strong correlation between the price of diesel, the price of logistics to distribute goods, and also the level of inflation in the country. That's very clear. So there's something to worry about in terms of domestic prices. The inflation projections for January are not looking that good. I think they're looking closer to 29.8 or 29.9, which is virtually 30%. And the following month also, something higher. So when you have the cost of living crisis that you're seeing in Suleja and Mina, you're seeing the exchange rate being sticky. in a particular level. And we are seeing other, we are now just beginning to see the higher interest rates, which will have its impact on consumption. It will take at least another month or so before we begin to see the direct impact of this in lower prices, higher productivity, and higher investment. But there's a lot of work to be done.
And I guess one of that work to sustain, any form of boost to the naira or reduction in inflation will also have to face our security issue, especially when it has to do with agricultural production.
Definitely. Because once movement is restricted because of security concerns, it means that goods will not move. If goods cannot move, that means even if you produce, the supply will not get to the market. Supply does not get to the market, prices remain high. And prices remain high, you have cost of living crisis and demonstration like I've seen all over the place. So you have to solve this thing comprehensively, not in isolation.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company.
Thank you for having me.